Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Ballots are still being counted, but tonight there are already some clear winners in San Diego County's special election. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Voters have elected Montgomery Stepp as the next county supervisor for District 4. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the San Diego City Council member took an early and insurmountable lead.
Montgomery Stepp gathered with supporters at a union hall Tuesday night. The moment the first results were posted online, the crowd erupted in cheers. Montgomery Stepp, a Democrat, has a commanding lead over Republican Amy Reichert with more than 60% of the vote. She'll be the first black woman ever to serve on the County Board of Supervisors, a fact she noted with pride.
And afro wearing, hoop earring wearing, reparations task force member of San Diego, California, will be the first black woman to serve on the San Diego County Board of Supervisors.
Montgomery Stepp was first elected to the city council in 2018, unseating the incumbent, who was her former boss, through a grassroots campaign centered on racial equity and police accountability. She says before she starts working on policy making at the county, she'll focus on hiring the right staff and meeting with county officials.
But I'm really focused on making sure that I get grounded in the position and kind of know what to ask for, the right questions to ask, and how to be the most successful supervisor that I could possibly be.
Amy Reichert issued a statement saying in part, while the results may indicate that victory in this election remains unattainable, my resolve to enhance the prosperity of San Diego County remains resolute. Montgomery Stepp's inauguration on December 5th will once again give Democrats a majority on the Board of Supervisors. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
And Montgomery Stepp's victory will trigger another special election in March to fill her seat on the San Diego City Council. Chula Vista's city attorney election appears to be heading to a runoff. Early results show Bart Maisfeld leading Marco Verdugo by a thin margin of less than 300 votes. Dan Smith-Diaz is a distant third. The only way to avoid a runoff election is for one candidate to get more than 51% of the votes. Maisfeld and Verdugo are at 39% and 38% respectively. The runoff election would most likely be the same as the presidential primary election in March. Chula Vista is having a special election because voters selected a dead candidate in the November 2022 race. The years-long dispute between ratepayers in Fallbrook and Rainbow came to a head last night as voters overwhelmingly voted to leave the 24-member agency for cheaper water in Riverside County. And KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wynn is here now to fill us in on what's next for the two rural districts. Alex.
Well, Maya, the process of leaving the Water Authority is called detachment, and it's a two-step process. Back in July, the San Diego County Local Agency Formation Commission, or LAFCO, which is in charge of interagency disputes like this, approved Fallbrook and Rainbow's request to leave the Water Authority. Voters had their say last night, and roughly 95% of them wanted to leave. Here's what Eileen Delaney, the head of the Fair Water Rates campaign, said last night, shortly after the early results were released.
It's a win for the farmers who have had to pay astronomical water rates, and they've lost so many trees and so many groves. It's a win for the little guy. It's a win for local control, and it's a win for families that are struggling to pay their bills.
According to an independent analysis, ratepayers in Fallbrook and Rainbow could save an estimated $7.7 million a year by switching to Eastern Municipal Water District. Even with this overwhelming result, the water divorce is not over. The Water Authority is suing LAFCO to keep Fallbrook and Rainbow from leaving. Maya?
So, Alex, does this mean that come the new year, residents in Fallbrook and Rainbow will switch their tap over to Eastern Municipal in Riverside?
Well, not quite. LAFCO still needs to put a few administrative pieces in place, including the exit fee of nearly $25 million. The boards for Fallbrook and Rainbow Water Districts still need to determine the new rates for payers. And of course, there's also the issue of the lawsuit that needs to be resolved.
Great. Thanks for that report, Alex.
I'm Ariella Scalise, and coming up tonight on KPBS News, we are still tracking powerful Santa Ana winds through our day on Thursday, which will bring that elevated fire risk. We could see winds gusting anywhere from 40 to 60 miles per hour. We'll have more on another big pattern change on the way. That's all coming up.
The San Diego Tourism Authority released some record-breaking numbers for the 2023 fiscal year. KPBS reporter Melissa May has the details.
The San Diego Tourism Authority estimates 30.5 million visitors made their way to San Diego during the 2023 fiscal year and generated $23.48 billion in total economic impact. Julie Coker is the president and CEO of the San Diego Tourism Authority and says the industry has recovered from both a leisure and business standpoint since the pandemic.
Going back to 2020, we lost 20 years of gain. And so the fact that we're here now with a record-breaking year and to be able to do visitor spend with less visitors this year than we had in fiscal year 22 is really a testament to the strength of the destination.
Coker says visitor spend is what tourists leave in their destination. In other words, all the money they spend here. She says the 2023 fiscal year exceeded the 2022 fiscal year by over $1 billion.
We had record-breaking visitor spend, $14.2 billion. We also had record-breaking TOT collections, which is essentially hotel tax, at $418 million in the county.
Coker says tourism also helps provide local jobs too.
We have over 214,000 that are employed in our industry, so certainly making sure that they have a full schedule, that folks are working 40 hours a week is something that we're focused on.
San Diego may be ranked as the most expensive city in the country, but Coker says our diverse attractions are still attractive for visitors.
We have everything from a Michelin star restaurant to fish tacos. So we also have a variety of hotels that meet different price points, and so that will meet folks where they are in terms of their budget and how they want to spend their money when they come to our destination.
One area the Tourism Authority says needs improvement is international visitors, and they expect those numbers to recover by the end of 2024. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Two cities in North County are teaming up in an effort to shelter homeless residents. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says they just got state funding to operate the soon-to-be shelter in Vista.
It was an emotional moment for some elected officials.
For those who are huddling in shelters trying to escape the rain. For those who are walking the streets, sorry, not sure. It's emotional.
Today, Senator Catherine Blakespear announced $5 million secured from the state, which will help cover 3 years of operating costs at Vista's interim supportive housing project. But this is no ordinary shelter.
This is the first of its kind in that two cities are funding one program directly.
It's a low-barrier, non-congregate center that's a joint effort between Vista and Encinitas. Jonathan Lung is Homeless Services Program Manager with the City of Vista.
With each building, there are 2 floors. Each floor has 6 total single-room occupancy units, 1 shared kitchen, and 2 shared restrooms. And there are a total of 4 floors between the 2 buildings.
Each room can fit 2 beds, so the shelter will be able to house up to 48 people at once. Vista residents will occupy 18 of the rooms, and 6 will go to Encinitas residents experiencing homelessness.
The regional solutions approach does make a lot of sense because people aren't homeless only within a city boundary.
The new site is for adults of both genders, including couples who are referred by homeless outreach teams. It will not accept walk-ups. Interfaith Community Services CEO Greg Angel explains how a low-barrier shelter like this one is desperately needed in San Diego's North County.
There's actually right now just over 100 shelter beds and nearly 2,000 people experiencing homelessness in North County.
Lung says an operator for the center will be recommended to Vista City Council on January 9th. He expects residents will start moving into the new shelter in early spring of 2024. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
9 days and counting. That is how long Congress has to prevent a potential government shutdown. And as John Lawrence reports, so far, House Republicans don't have a concrete plan to keep things running.
Washington, D.C. is once again facing a possible financial collapse.
We certainly want to avoid a government shutdown. It's a dangerous time around the world right now. We recognize that, and we're doing our job.
Speaker Mike Johnson and GOP lawmakers in the House went through a series of ideas Tuesday, including a short-term spending bill through January 19th.
Many options that are on the table, and we'll be revealing what our plan is in short order.
If some Republicans in the House are against any sort of short-term spending bill, Johnson would need Democratic support, and that might be an uphill climb.
They want to default on our debt, shut down the government, crash the economy, censure Democrats, and avoid holding their own members accountable. This is who they are.
A government shutdown occurs when Congress doesn't pass funding for the federal government without something like a short-term bill. That could cause many problems for the country, including the halting of construction projects and disruptions in food safety inspections. Johnson has until November 17th to deal with his conference, the Democratic-controlled Senate, and the Biden White House.
Bipartisanship is the word. Just one side passing a bill just with one party and sending it over is not going to be a very good way to move things forward.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
According to professional services firm Ernst & Young, the U.S. would have lost $6 billion per week had Congress not prevented a government shutdown earlier this year.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, while the war rages on, Israel sheds light on its long-term plans in Gaza. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Rady Children's Hospital secretly surveilled a bedridden teenager and her parents using at least one hidden camera in a hospital room. And according to a lawsuit filed by the family, it was done without a warrant. It was part of a failed child abuse investigation. The family is now suing Rady in San Diego County in federal and state court. KPBS reporter Scott Rod has part 2 of this investigation.
Here's when she played in the band.
Madison Meyer's health was failing as she entered her teenage years. By age 15, the formerly active child was admitted to the hospital with serious complications from a connective tissue disorder and required a feeding tube. Her parents, Bill Meyer and Dana Gaske, had crisscrossed the country looking for doctors who could help explain her condition.
Obviously, as a parent, you hate standing by and seeing your child suffer.
But they'd soon be fighting just to keep custody of Madison. Because in late 2018 and early 2019, according to court documents, San Diego County's child abuse hotline received 2 phone calls. They alleged Gaske and Meyer had abused their daughter by claiming she suffered from non-existent injuries and interfering with hospital staff. It's known as medical child abuse, or Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and it poses a serious risk of death to child victims. Gaske and Meyer categorically deny abusing their daughter. When a county social worker showed up in Madison's hospital room, her father was stunned.
It was like, what is this? What does this mean?
But the county is required to investigate any credible allegations of abuse. Around this time, Madison's medical team planned to transfer her to Rady Children's Hospital for round-the-clock care. Before Madison arrived, the county investigator contacted Dr. Shaylin Nino, a lead child abuse pediatrician at the Children's Hospital. In a court filing, Nino said she reviewed Madison's medical file and, quote, admits she recommended Madison be monitored in a room with video surveillance as a medical diagnostic tool to determine whether Madison was a victim of medical child abuse. The Meyer family alleges the county reviewed the plan to secretly monitor Madison, but never obtained court approval for the surveillance.
They had already planned to do the video. There wasn't any intentions of being collegial and involving us as a family.
Nino's attorneys did not respond to multiple requests for comment. San Diego County declined an interview request. In an email, a spokesperson said no county employees were involved in the decision to surveil Madison's hospital room, even though Nino confirms in a court filing that she communicated with the Maine County investigator about Madison's care throughout the investigation. Rady declined an interview request and would not comment on the Meyer family's case, citing patient privacy protections. In an emailed statement, the hospital said, quote, "Our top priority is providing the highest level of care to our patients and families." By the time Madison arrived at Rady, at least one hidden camera was rolling.
All of these people were standing in the corner because all of them knew exactly what was going on. They all knew exactly that we were being recorded.
The county brought its child abuse case against Gasky and Meyer to juvenile dependency court. Madison was removed from her parents' custody during the 11-month trial. It was only during the custody battle that the family learned about the secret video surveillance.
This video spanned the whole room. It covered everything. Every interaction Bill and I had with Madison, every personal moment. The worst part was I gave Madison baths. Every day I cleaned her up every day, changed her gown every day. All of that was on the video. It was horrific.
38 days. That's how long the covert surveillance lasted, the Meyer family alleges in their lawsuit. After the legal battle, the Juvenile Dependency Court awarded Meyer and Gasky custody of Madison. The Meyer family's lawsuit quotes the San Diego County Superior Court Commissioner, who ruled in their favor. He allegedly criticized the extensive use of covert surveillance, calling it, quote, "an unbelievable invasion of privacy, an insensitive invasion of privacy." Hospitals have used covert surveillance to investigate many suspected cases of Munchausen by proxy in recent decades. But there is sharp disagreement among medical professionals and legal experts about the practice.
On the face of it, it's both unethical and unnecessary.
Michael Flannery is a distinguished professor of law at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. Flannery reviewed the Meyer family's complaint and says the allegations troubled him.
It struck me as just violative of the family's Fourth Amendment right to privacy.
Flannery acknowledges that hospitals can generally use surveillance throughout their facilities, but when hospitals work in cooperation with the government, he argues the Fourth Amendment almost always requires court approval. A judge has dismissed parts of the Meyer family's federal lawsuit, but has allowed it to proceed on several claims, including on Fourth Amendment grounds. Some child abuse experts say surveillance plays an essential role in diagnosing Munchausen by proxy cases.
I'm an advocate for all the tools that we could possibly use that could help us protect children from this.
Beatrice Yorker is a professor emerita of nursing and criminal justice at California State University, Los Angeles. She encourages hospitals to develop clear protocols when using surveillance. The Meyer family says that's one of their goals. Beyond seeking monetary damages, they're hoping Rady establishes clear safeguards for conducting surveillance in the future.
They've done a lot of good things in the community. It's not about how much good you've done in the past, but how much you're willing to continue to challenge yourself to get better and make it better for your patients.
Scott Rod, KPBS News.
And if you missed part one of this investigation, you can find it on our KPBS YouTube page, and that's where you'll find all of our daily stories and feature reporting, as well as a live stream of Evening Edition weeknights at 5. It was an off-year election, but the voters across the country who cast ballots yesterday sent big messages. While Democrats marked key victories in several races and ballot measures, a series of new polls reveal a rocky road ahead for President Joe Biden as he seeks to stay in the White House. Ivan Rodriguez has more.
A victory for reproductive rights activists in Ohio.
Winning was our only option, and we did it together.
Voters casting their ballots Tuesday to enshrine the right to an abortion in Ohio's Constitution, just the latest state to do so in the wake of the Supreme Court's 2022 decision to overturn Roe v. Wade And in Virginia, Democrats swept the state legislature in a rebuke of Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin, who sought to pursue what he called reasonable abortion restrictions if the GOP took control of both chambers.
Voters are sending a message to all of us, Democrats and Republicans, that the number one issue that they care about is freedom.
Abortion access proving a driving force for voters, which could be a boon to Democratic prospects in 2024, even as Republicans frame the results as wins for states' rights.
I think you got to let it be decided state by state, and that's exactly what's happening.
But despite party victories, polling of registered voters shows the sour mood in the country is posing trouble for President Joe Biden's re-election chances, coming up short in hypothetical matchups against former President Donald Trump and other GOP candidates.
What we're going to continue to do is highlight the record of accomplishments that he has and draw that contrast between what he puts forward and brings to the table and what Donald Trump or any other Republican on the MAGA side of this puts forward.
Deep Red Kentucky's newly re-elected Democratic Governor Andy Beshear says the key to victory is focusing on the things that impact people's daily lives.
They want someone that, again, is going to try every single day to make their life just a little bit better.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
And we'll continue to update the KPBS Voter Hub as we get closer to the 2024 primary season. Earlier in the newscast, we had results from last night's special election. That's also available on the Voter Hub at kpbs.org. Volunteers in Sherman Heights rolled up their sleeves and planted trees in commemoration of Cape Sessions Day. The event was organized by the city in collaboration with Tree San Diego. Sessions was a botanist who worked in San Diego in the early 20th century. She was known as the mother of Balboa Park, having introduced hundreds of trees to the area. Volunteers say they are thankful to do their part for Mother Nature.
It's more than just beautifying the city. The trees have so much value, whether it's slowing down stormwater, reducing stormwater runoff, biodiversity. It's cooling, helping mitigate the urban heat island effect. It's trees are an essential element of a healthy city.
The city of San Diego set a goal to plant more than 100,000 trees by the year 2035.
And let's start off with our weather headlines as we're tracking some pretty active weather when it comes to the wind. The Santa Ana winds do continue through the end of the week. Plus, we are watching warming temperatures with some of the peak of the heat coming this weekend. Meanwhile, a significant pattern change is on the way as we head into next week. Let's take you into tonight. We're Oceanside down to 39 degrees. San Diego down to 47 and under a clear sky. Borrego Springs down to about 46 and a cold night ahead for Mount Laguna, temperature around 34. We take you into the day on Thursday where we're still going to have warm conditions and we will still have at times some of those gusty conditions moving on through. San Diego up to 76, Mount Laguna, your temperatures into the upper 40s. Borrego Springs 78 with a clear sunny sky, and Oceanside you're warming up with temperatures into the upper 70s. What's ahead throughout the day on Friday? We still have dry conditions sticking around. Get out and enjoy that because we are tracking big changes as we head into next week. I want to show you the pattern here that we'll be tracking. A big dip in the jet stream is going to bring wet weather as far south as San Diego. We could see some significant rainfall on the way as we head into next week, and at times we'll be tracking some heavy mountain snow, and this is good news for the fire activity being suppressed as we head into next week. I want to take you into the next 5 days along the coast here where temperatures will continue to be warm here through the end of the week and through the weekend, maybe coming down a bit before we start to see temperatures climbing back up as we head into Sunday, upper 70s, and then dropping again on Monday. Further inland we go where temperatures will continue to climb. Look at that. We're 85 by the time we head into the day Sunday, and then lower 80s by the time we head into Monday. For the mountains, temperatures will only climb briefly into the lower 50s as we head into this weekend, but a little bit of an improvement in the temps. And then for the desert, we see the 70s the next couple of days, but a return to the 80s Saturday and Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
It may soon be lights, camera action once again in Hollywood. The SAG-AFTRA negotiating committee has agreed to a proposed labor contract with studios. The nearly 120-day strike is set to end at midnight tonight. The tentative deal must be approved by the union board and members Details have not yet been released. A growing number of Americans are working multiple jobs, and that's according to the October jobs report from the Labor Department. Patrick Cornell has what experts say is behind the federal data and who is leading that trend.
Juggling multiple gigs. The latest jobs report from the Labor Department shows nearly 8.4 million people had multiple jobs in October. That's the highest number since the start of the pandemic. And women appear to be leading that trend. The federal data shows nearly 6% of women worked multiple jobs in October. That's compared to 4.7% of men.
Our cost of living has almost tripled since 2020.
Experts say people may be taking on additional jobs to offset high inflation, which has been easing but is still painfully high for some households. Nonprofits like the United Way say inflation is outpacing wage growth, and that's making it harder for them to help families.
Wages do not reflect how important they are to everyday living.
Remote work is also offering more flexibility and opportunities for workers to manage several jobs from home. And there's also fear that layoffs could have people looking for supplemental jobs, but one economist says layoffs are actually historically low right now.
Companies are reluctant to lose their workers, and they're willing to negotiate even higher salaries to keep them.
U.S. employers added only 150,000 jobs last month. That's the smallest gain since June, signaling the economy is slowing and signaling that the Federal Reserve's action to tame inflation may be working.
The question is, how quickly is it working? We're still far from the 2% target, but inflation has come down quite a bit.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Patrick Cornell reporting.
And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. A battle is brewing over crop subsidies. On NPR's Morning Edition, why farmers say they need more money, while others argue it's a waste of taxpayer funds. And KPBS Midday Edition has the weekend arts preview, including what to expect at the Coronado Film Festival. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.